Hello YouTube users, hope you're having a nice day, cause I'm not. I won't tell you why, but I just am. So yeah, and I'm bored too, so I'm making this video. Anyway, so let's get started. The first thing I want you to know is this is not a tutorial. I won't guide you through everything and type, but I will show you how I achieved everything for making this weird slope detection. Okay, so you want to make some noob slope detection, do you? So here it is. This is it in action. Well, yeah, pretty noob, but it gets the job done. So I just figure maybe you might like it. So I'm gonna guide you through what I did. And here is Flash asking me if I want to save. No. So in my FLA file, I have one symbol called floor underscore MC. Inside it is just a very large stroke, 20, and a curvy fill, and I think this is also a fill. It was a stroke before, but I converted it to a fill. And that's all in the floor underscore MC. And I have a player class. God knows why I didn't just draw the player in the FLA file, but I drew it with code. In the player class, I started off by importing the packages that I need. I extended the sprite class. Then I made two shapes, point and lines, and then player width. I wonder what's that for. Well, we'll figure it out. In my constructor, I set, points to a new shape, lines to a new shape, player width to 10. And I run the draw player function, which is right here. And in the draw player function, it does exactly that. It draws the player using the graphics class. I'll show you what each of these mean if you don't understand. This line right here chooses your fill. So set fill to gray. Sorry about that, I forgot how to spell gray. And set alpha to 1. I should put set color. Color, yes. And this line, well, it draws a circle with a radius of 5 pixels. So the total diameter of the plate of the circle will be 10 pixels. It also sets the circle's position to 0, 0. Set the X and Y position of the circle to 0, 0, and the radius to 5 Now we draw another circle. We position it to player width, which is 10 pixels. The Y 0 and the radius 5 pixels. So this circle will be in the center of the player. This circle 10 pixels to the center of the player, and then another circle 10 pixels minus to the center of the player. You can actually see it right here in the Swift file. Here we go. Here's the first gray circle, the second gray circle, and the third gray circle. Minimize that. And now this line, lines.graphics.line_style, we set the style of the line. First, this parameter here sets the sets the thickness. This one right here sets the color, and this one sets the alpha. Yes. So set the thickness to 5 pix. Color, to black. Man, my typing is badly off. And alpha to 1. Now this line, lines.graphics.move to, we move the cursor or the draw head or whatever you want to call it. We move it back to the center of the player, and then we draw a line going from the center to minus 10 pixels, and then another line. Oh, wait. Oh, yes. The X is 0, the Y is minus 10, so it draws a vertical line going downward. No, wait, going upward. My bad. Then we draw another line going from this point right here to minus to the player's width, which is 10 pixels, and minus 10 pixels for the Y. That would be this line right here. So this is the first line, this is the second line. Our third line, it's from the player's width, 10 pixels to 0. So the third line is right here, this one right here. Then we do basically the same thing for the opposite side. So we just change some values around and we create these 3 lines. These 2 lines, sorry. Right here and right here. And then we add those 2 shapes to our player, and that's our player class. Just a drawing. Now if we move back to our FLA file, or my FLA file, I'll go to the actions, open that up, and now here I started off by importing whatever classes I need, made the usual variables, right key is dong, left key is dong, up key is dong, down key is dong, all booleans, all false. Then a new variable, player underscore MC. I set it to a player and made it a new player. I set its X to 255, therefore its Y will be 0 automatically. And then I added the player to the stage. Next, I made a player speed variable, set that to 7. Gravity variable number, set that to 1. Y velocity number 0. Now I have Vx and Vy. These are set to 0. These stand for velocity X and velocity Y. Why I didn't just create one variable for Y velocity, I don't know, but I'm too lazy to change it, and I'm not going to go back to this file anyway. Then I have AX and AY. These are acceleration X, acceleration Y. Then I have DF. What's DF? It's a number. Oh, look right here. Driving force. Ooh. Good thing I commented that. We have our friction 0.95 and our can jump variable set to false. The next thing I did was, what do these lines do again? They draw these two little red dots. So draw two red dots. I'll show you them. It's these red dots right here, if you can see them. They're both very small. In fact, I'll zoom in. These two little dots right here. Yeah, aren't they beautiful? So I made a variable player width int, which equals player underscore MC dot player width. So it gets this width from the player, which is 10 pixels 10. Then we make a new sprite. We start the fill, make its color red, and the alpha to 1 or 100%. Yes. We then draw the circle, set its position to 0, 0, and then we set the x position of the red sprite and the y position of the red sprite. This little calculation makes sure that the red dot is right. Oops. Where is that? Right here where the two end wheels are of this exotic player. Yeah, that's it for this one. Then we create the second red dot, basically same code. And then we add those two new points. We add those two new sprites. And then we create keyboard event listeners, a key down and a key up. Press a key and release a key. Here is our press a key function. Now, if the key code is keyboard.write, then the driving force equals 0.2 and friction equals 0.96. The right key is down equals true part isn't very necessary in this example. Then for left, the driving force is -2, and that's really all we need. Then when we release a key, the driving force equals 0. Yeah, pretty much. Oh, and friction is lessened. That's also pretty much all we need in these two functions. Now I have a new variable here, degrees. You'll see what that's for in a second. And then we add an enter frame listener to our player, and we run the function move the player. Here is our move the player function right beneath it. First, right here, if up key is down and can't jump, then we make the player jump. We set y velocity to -15. Can't jump equals false, so it can't jump again. Next, we add the gravity to the y velocity every frame, so that y velocity becomes bigger and bigger. Now, if the floor is not hitting the player's X and the player's Y position, and shape flags is true. I'm not sure what you know what shape flags is, but yeah, we need it. And that's Skype. Someone's talking to me on Skype. Oh dear. Ignore that. Right here we add the players. We add the Y velocity to the player's Y position, so that makes the player fall reasonably realistically. And if the Y velocity is greater than 20, then we set Y velocity to 20. That basically adds some terminal velocity to our player. Now right here we calculate the acceleration x and the acceleration y using some trigonometry and the driving force. Yeah, this basically tells us how much up and down we need to make the acceleration. Then we add our acceleration x and our acceleration y to our vx and our vy, and then we slow it down. We slow our velocity x and our vy down a little bit by multiplying it with a number slightly less than 1, which is our friction. If you recall, it's a little less than 1. And right here, these two if statements are just used to optimize our code a little bit. If the absolute value of our Vx is less than or equal to 0.1, then we set it to 0. Basically, if the value is so small, then we set it to 0 so that it doesn't keep calculating and use up all your processor power. Well, probably won't use all, but you know what I mean. and the same goes for the VY. And then finally we add our Vx and our Vy to our player's X position and our player's Y position. Now, what we haven't covered is how the player finds out which way it's rotating, or how the AX and the AY knows which way to rotate using this degree, because right here, up here, we set degrees to 0. So in here, this would just be 0. So we need to calculate a way to change this so that these can figure out what they need to be so that they can make the player move correctly. Sorry if I'm confusing you, I'm kind of lazy right now, but I'm hoping you understand, God willing. So I made a loop. Sorry, I had to go do something. I made a loop right here, and this part of the loop I think we've covered in one of my platform game tutorials, so I won't really go over it. This one says if the floor is hitting the slope point X position and the slope point Y position, which is the little red dots we created earlier, then do this crap that's inside here. And what that does is it rotates the player ever so slightly with 0.5 degrees, minus 0.5 degrees, sets the degrees to this value. Actually, that's kind of wrong. This is actually radians, I think. Yup, this is a radian value. So if you're making this, don't call this degrees. This should be radians. And someone's talking to me on Skype again. And here I have a trace statement. You can ignore that. And then we reposition the slope point and the slope. We reposition the slope point X and the slope point Y. We reposition it so that it is always right where the player's wheels are. These wheels on the side here. Using some simple trig. We do that for the second slope point 2. We rotate the player ever so slightly. Then we convert that into radians. Another trace statement, ignore that, and then we reposition it. Then right here, okay, what the heck? This is the same thing that I have up here. I don't know why. I'm not going to check to see why either, because this is noob slope detection that I created on my own. I don't particularly like it anyway, so that's it. I hope you like it. I'll just expand this out a little bit for you so that you can get everything in case you're copying it down. Yeah, expand that stuff. Scroll down slowly. scrolling, scrolling. Feel free to pause the video, take it down. This is incredibly boring. Ah, I'm so tired. Dee dee da 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 da. And there you go, your noob stop detection. Enjoy it.